Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
Hey, we talk about it all the time. We talk about everything.
Pretty much.
Everything. We won't shy away from anything. And Andy, I was actually following too because I know you were posting pictures and updates and stuff like that. So I was following along because I was like, once I started saw the second picture, I was in. I was in on the journey. Just like, how did you get into the tournament? Was it a way just to buy in with the event, or is there do you have connections or some sort of license?
Sometimes you win small venues, local ones to get into these and
to
stuff.
Earn a bid into bigger tournaments like that.
So I haven't been to Vegas in quite a while. Haven't gotten to play in any bigger events, poker events. I love playing down with Jack. So my buddy, it was his birthday, and he was planning on going alone. So somehow I got him to get on the phone with my wife, and he begged her. He said, please, it's my birthday. I'm going to have such a better time if you let him come down for a couple days. And wow, did that work. I tried to see if she let me go. It was, we got a lot going on. So she gave me permission. So super excited to go down there. I've never been down there for the World Series of Poker before. I'm more of a cash game player than tournament player. But we went to this place called Batista's Hole in the Wall, where your meal comes with unlimited table wine. So sometimes I like post little chug videos. So I recorded a video drinking a craft of wine, which was a terrible idea because it had already been a long night. And I was actually just going to go home because I was feeling really, really bad and missed the tournament. And my buddy was going to go play in this event by himself. And then I realized, oh, man, I don't have time to get to the room. So I actually had to go to the bathroom and got sick, which is the first time that's happened in quite a while. And then after that, I felt great. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy into this event. And, man, I never looked back.
So it was just you buy into this one then?
Yes. It had already, I think they started at 10 a.m. and I probably late regged in at about 6:30. So when I bought in, I only had 20 big blinds, which is my stack relative to how many orbits. That's not a good place to be, 20 big blinds. But I was able to crawl out of that hole and then cash later that night. And then I was the table chip leader, came back day 2. I was so intimidated because all these guys had played in, hundreds of WSOP events, way more veteran with tournaments than I was. So I woke up at 8 a.m., went and got some breakfast, and then drank 5 beers before I went and played.
I mean, that'll give you some liquid courage and calm you down a little bit. Maybe
calm
you a little
down,
too much down, but although 5 beers for you is probably just a drop in the water, like in a pond, no big deal.
So where's the highest of highs? Where was the highest point that you kind of got to and maybe started to think I can make a run in this tournament? And then I guess what ultimately kind of took you back the other direction?
So there was a poker vlogger, a guy that makes his career by playing in tournaments and video recording them, and then he makes videos, puts them on YouTube, has tons of followers. His name was Kevin Martin. He actually won Big Brother Canada, which is pretty awesome. He sat down at our table about halfway through the day, and I just immediately thought, okay, this is going to be the guy to knock me out. And I got it all in with him. I had him beat. He outflopped me, but then I caught up on the turn and doubled up through him, and I had about 3.5 million chips at that point. And then I was feeling.
Do you
really
remember
good.
your hand?
I had King Queen, and he had Jack 10, and he hit a Jack and a 10, and then I made a flush on the turn.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, that made me feel really good, and then man, your blinds are so low that. This is a crazy event. It's designed to get people to go all in a very short amount of time. You go from 16,000 people, and then 2 days later, you're down to the final table. So you really had to be aggressive, and I gave it the best I could.
So you said there was 15,000 plus people in this tournament.
What 16,000
16?
29.
And what place did you finish?
149.
That is amazing, dude. That is so hard. And you started late, so you probably didn't have nearly as many chips as like everybody else. So I mean, if I had a hat, I'd take it off to you, my man. Like that is highly impressive. What I wanted to ask you is a lot of people they watch poker on TV, and it seems so much different than when you're playing in a big tournament like that, and when you watch on TV, it's not the same. They're always showing the best hands, the big matchups. Most of the time, like, explain the big difference, how, like, most of the hands aren't that big of a deal, are they?
No, definitely not. I mean, there's not a lot of thought put into them. I guess you could say it's fair to say, like, you're not being challenged on every hand. You know, you bet with a not the strongest hand in your range and someone raises and, you know, you just are instantly going to fold. The big hands require a little more thought. It's very interesting, though, these days. If you have the Poker Go app, you actually get to watch the entire tournament. Like, so you're watching every hand, which is much more interesting from a poker player's perspective.
Because a lot of times, like, the things you see, like a hand, is like, this dude's got a 3 of a kind right now, but also a flush waiting, while this other guy's got a full house waiting. Most of the time, it's a pair beating 3 of a kind. Those are your big hands. Those are the ones that'll win pots and stuff. And
it's actually more like, you know, someone betting with a pair and then someone raising with nothing, and then the guy that has the pair re-raises him and then folds. Like,
yeah,
bunch of nonsense.
It is. It's a lot in those tournaments. It's so much. You're just trying to intimidate most of the people from playing at the table. You got to just raise without barely seeing anything. So your crap cards don't play, and you don't want to play your 2-5. Like, I'll just see a blind. Like, no, I'm going to make this so expensive that you can't see. I don't want you seeing anything and catching some crappy hands or something. And yeah, from what I hear, they're just ultra aggressive in those tournaments, because if you're not, you fall behind. And you do, like he said, you'll just, blinds will come around and the blinds will just eat your stack. And next thing you know, you're like, I played 2 hands and I got no chips.
Now, with the big hands, though, Andy, like when more thought process needs to come into it, Jay was just talking about, like on TV, they're kind of telling people at home where, like, what scenarios each player kind of has, what percentage they have to win the hand. How much does that sink in when you're kind of going through it? Because you can see some of these options as well that might happen for you if you're in, not saying you push all in with your chips, but you're in on the big hand. How much does that go through your head, and can that sometimes be a detriment to making the right decision ultimately to stay in a tournament?
Sure. I think you have to poker players probably at his best when he goes with his gut. I think the more you get in your head, the more you just tend to overthink it and sometimes make the wrong decision. That's sort of where I'm at when I am comfortable drinking a few beers at the table, because I think that helps me, like, not overthink things.
When you don't trust your gut, what he's talking about, happens to me all the time.
Because
I'd be like,
in there.
you know what? I knew I should have folded, but I have a problem where I want to see the hand. I paid for it. I'm like, I knew I was going to lose. I knew I was a losing hand, but I had to know if what you had. That's my problem.
This tournament, though, is really designed to just get you all in on the flop early on in the hand. So there wasn't a lot of information that you had to do that. So I don't know. When anyone would take like a minute to make their decision, a lot of times it's like, come on, dude. Like, you either got it or you don't. Full or whatever. And then they would. But yeah, I think that our table is pretty good, that we acted fast for the most part. And again, it was pretty much all ins on the flop or beforehand. And I just kind of got lucky to avoid shoving all in when someone hit a monster hand that they could call me with. I wasn't playing many hands, so when I raised, they were folding to me pretty often, which was nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, much different than like a cash game. You're going to be ultra conservative, more or less.
Yeah. So explain like that difference that you're kind of talking about, like those what you typically play, Andy, and what you ended up doing at this tournament.
If you buy into a cash game, you're supposed to buy in for 100 big blinds, which means you could literally survive, 100 orbits before you go broke if you didn't hands, which is a ton. That's, if you're playing 8-handed, that's quick math. That's like 14 million hands. Cash, you can sort of slow it down and wait for the cards to come to you. You can play the players a little bit more. But in tournaments, you just got to put your foot on the gas and hope, especially a tournament like this. If you watch the main event, everyone at the table has 30 to 50 to 60 big blinds. But in our particular tournament, like the guy that had the most chips at the table had 20 big blinds, which is nothing. So you had to be careful, because if you went all in with nonsense, someone's calling you down with pretty light. So I think my conservative strategy worked out for me.
See, like, that's what I personally like cash games. I think the strategy is there's more strategy into it. There's more you're able to read the players more. Like he says, when you're in those tournaments, you're really counting on luck. You're just hoping you're catching hands. Because if you ain't catching hands, you're just done. You're dead in the water.
And like, I know that each person has their own technique, and I don't want to like secrets being given out. But like, what's the key to like a good bluff? To be like a good bluffer at the table and stay in tournaments longer, because there's going to be moments where I feel like you're going to have to do that. What makes a good bluff?
Yeah. So everyone in poker plays sort of ranges. So like, if I'm the first to open, there aren't that many hands that I would probably have if I'm playing, basic poker. Like I'm probably not gonna open with 7-3 off. So if the flop comes 7-3, it's hard for me to represent that I have those cards. But if I raise and someone calls me and the flop comes ace king 5, even if I don't have anything, if I raise there's a pretty good chance he has to respect my raise and he would probably fold. That's a pretty good time to bluff. And then there's also position. If there's 10 people at the table in your first act, you have 9 other people that haven't looked at their cards yet that any of them could have aces. So if you raise from first position, you're more likely to have a better hand. If it gets all around and you're like the third last act, that's kind of when you want to bluff with your crappier hands, because you only have 2 people that, get to act behind you. But then again, they know that you're doing that. So it's this whole meta game that just goes back and forth.
And that's just like he's saying, the position. There's the whole mental psychology of bluffing behind it too. Like basically, it's like the radio business, man. When it's a bit, you want them to think it's real life, and when it's real life, it's a bit, and that's what you have to get them to thinking. Like, I'll even tell you some of my strategy. Like
I'm bitless. I'm bitless.
Like sometimes if my first bluff, one of my most famous moves. I think it's called mucking your cards, showing them if everyone folds. And I'm like, you guys and I'll bait them pretty much. I'm like, you guys folded to this, and I'll have a crap hand. I want him to see those cards, so I'm pretty much making everyone at the table mad at me. So next time I go to do it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm calling you. You think you can keep bluffing?" And I'm like, "Well, I got pocket kings this time."
Yeah, I'm gonna cut this clip right here, and this is the only one I'm gonna send out. I'm gonna send it to everybody. I just need a list of everybody that you play poker with, and I'm gonna send it just to them. We need better promotion for this podcast, but guess what? I'm gonna push that to the side. I'm gonna sacrifice.
What did I do
more
to you,
viewers.
man?
This is what we. This is what we do. This isn't a bit. We give each other a hard time all the time.
I know.
Why wouldn't I do something like that? But you wouldn't give me the list of names anyway. So
good thing is, all the people I play poker with aren't on social media either, so I'm good. I'm safe.
We'll figure something out.